Hey, this is Kendall, and this is my second video blog. I left, or I stopped the first video blog um, before I was going to talk about the big change that happened back in 2013. The change didn't actually set in or start to really affect me until January of 2014. And when it hit me in January, it hit me hard. I call it living in the dramatic, because it would trigger these super dramatic responses from me. I would become basically emotionally retarded. The closest thing that I found that described what was happening to me is a bipolar condition called hypomania. Now, I'm not a doctor, and I certainly don't claim to know more than what my neurologist knows, or the medical field knows, or whatever. But what I do know is the best way that I have found to describe what happens to me when I was basically over medicated from using the dopamine agonist, the patch that I was putting on every day. The closest thing is the definition of hypomania. And so I'm going to read the description of hypomania. And this will give you an idea of what happens to me whenever I become over medicated. And I will explain what exactly I mean when I say over medicated after I describe what started happening to me in January. So it was almost like night and day. What would happen to me was I would my state of mind, or my mood state, would become I would become a very energetic, very talkative, super ultra confident, extremely creative, and I was very provocative. I had a total loss of respect for social norms. I had racing thoughts. I would have all these ideas, they would hit me like all at once. And it was like my thought process in my brain was working so fast that I would start thinking about this thing, and then immediately start thinking about that thing, and then something else would come in, and I would have all these racing thoughts. And it was, I'll admit, it was fun at first, because I felt like I was more intelligent. But I started to become very bold, and it was almost euphoric, the change. But I had a heightened, everything was heightened. But one of the things that was a problem was I had a heightened irritability. When things would bother me, normally I could brush it off, or I could deal with it, or I can ignore it, or whatever. But in this mood state that I was in, of hypomania, when something would irritate me, it would be like magnified by 10. And so I was really bothered by a lot of things. I had increased energy. I had a decreased need for sleep. I would go, I mean, for like 2 years straight, I was going 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night. I'm not sure how I maintained that for 2 years, how I physically maintained that, but that's what happened to me. I was would be extremely outgoing. I was super competitive. I had a lot of self assurance. I had a strong will. I was constantly wanting to break social norms. I loved attention. I had a low threshold for boredom. I was actually very generous in a lot of ways. I had extreme emotional sensitivity. I was very cheerful. I had um, a lot of mood fluctuations, and I I had um, grandiosity. Grandiosity. It was like my life was this grandiose uh, um, story or something. I had an unrealistic sense of superiority, and I had a belief that that only a few people were on my level and could understand me. I had a persistent disinhibition. I had extreme disinhibited behavior. I would not follow any social rules, and I was constantly rude and offensive towards people. I had aggressive outbursts, like when something would trigger me, or when something would make me sad, like a song or a movie or a video or something, or something would make me mad, like something somebody said on Facebook or something. I would get really sad, and I would get very mad. So I had like heightened emotions. The I had total disregard for others. I I, I would gravitate towards misconduct. I was very oppositional and very risk taking. I had extreme impulsivity. I would act without thinking, and I was constantly choosing short term goals over long term goals. I was also very compulsive and obsessive. I would get obsessive about things like making my videos or uh, Facebook. I was very obsessed with those two things mainly, and it was like I had ADHD. I mean, I did have ADHD. I was constantly moving, not just with my body, but with my thoughts, and I was extremely impatient. And I gravitated big time towards substance abuse because I would get instant gratification from whatever substance I was using. The I I had let's see. I basically had an impulse control disorder. I had extreme difficulty controlling urges despite negative consequences. I couldn't resist desire. Anything that would make me feel good, I was constantly focusing on those things. And at the same time, when I would do something that would make me feel good or give me gratification, after that gratification was over, I had extreme guilt and remorse for succumbing to whatever desire that that it was. And so I was constantly up and down. And that is the best way I can describe what these side effects of this dopamine agonist were doing to me. But in my next video blog, I'm going to talk about what this hypomania caused me to do to myself, to my family, and to anyone I was associated with, actually. But until next time.
And I take it all back, take it all back, take it all back.